video is sponsored by Frontline Model Hobbies, your one-stop website for all your modelling needs. Check out the store for special offers, pre-orders and also aftermarket accessories. Check out their website. A big thank you to Frontline Model Hobbies. Hello and welcome back. Yes, this is part 3 and it is the main painting stage. Now first off, what I decided to do was to spray the framing on the actual canopy itself. I didn't have an interior green colour per se, so I went with the next best thing, which was Tamiya flat green. Although once it's done and it's on the kit, it doesn't really show. However, if you don't do it, or you do it in a different colour, it does stick out like a sore thumb. Anywho, priming. I'm not going to go too much into it. However, all I'm going to say is it's the most boring job, but probably the most important. So once that was done, I went on to my arch nemesis, which was Tamiya XF2 flat white. But what I did do is I thinned it to an inch of its life using Mr. Hobby leveling thinners, and it went down really well. As long as you're not over a said one spot for any amount of time, as in you get a build up of paint, you're fine. So just keep your actual airbrush moving all the time. It may take a little longer, but the finish is a lot better and you do get a lot smoother finish once it's actually all dried. Now the reason why I did use XF2, the flat white, is because when it comes down to the actual weathering of the aircraft, I'm going to be using dark browns and such. So it is going to take the edge off that sort of like that brilliant white finish, because this is going to be depicted as an aircraft that has been through the mill because it's in war. But anyway, that's the next video. But with this video, all I'm doing is I am using now a dark sea blue from MiG Ammo. Now my intention was is to paint this and then use a chipping medium to actually start the weathering process. But things went awry, things went a bit wrong, and yeah, I'll explain that in a moment. But one thing I will say is the MiG paint is a tiny little bit sort of like difficult to actually spray. I did actually find that when I thinned it, again with well, it's Sedone thinners, it still dried on the tip of the actual airbrush. But anyway, moving on to Eduard decals. Yeah. If you didn't know, Eduard decals do have carrier film, but the carrier film is uppermost. It's not actually on the backing sheet. So some bright spark decided to think, right, let's actually do it so you can take the backing or the carrier film off to make it look super duper and it'll look like it's painted on. And I'm like, why did Eduard go down this route, and why didn't they just stick to their normal decals, because they were absolutely fine. Now this is the result of me trying to take the actual carrier film off. Well, no, I didn't go out with a bloody sanding sponge. I did it as per all the videos which I've looked at, is using a moistened brush and taking it off, but the decal came with it. But once everything's dry and all your setting solutions are on and you want to take it off, can you get all of it off? Can you bugger? Now this is, as you can see, a brand new bit of gaffer tape. It's mega strong, and I'm putting it on, nothing, it won't come off. So in the end, what I had to do was go at it with some sanding sponges of a high grit. I think it was the 180 one I started with, and had to take them off that way. Now, is it my own fault? Probably. Do I need time to get used to the decals? No, and I'll explain that hopefully later on. But anyway, part 2 of the paint stage. My God. Now, what I did is I looked at a weathering magazine which I do have in my library, and I thought, oh, this looks like a nice way of doing things. So I got my XF2 in the cup again, and what I've done is, instead of like doing like a pre-shading of a dark colour, I'm doing it a light colour. And also I'm going to be doing a custom mix for the dark sea blue as well, but all that will come apparent in a moment. So all I'm doing is I'm going the opposite way. I'm not darkening it up, I'm lighting it. And once that was done, I could go over it with the chipping medium which I was selected, which I believe was the wall effects, but I did use the chipping effects slightly before this, I believe. But there you go, that's all done, that's primed, that is all rock and roll, ready for the zinc chromite yellow. Now I've used this as the base primer for the actual kit, although you do get the green actually inside the cockpit. But for this, I thought, do you know what, it'll add a little bit more colour once the actual thing has been chipped, and you'll be able to see the difference between the actual sea blues, the intermediate blues, and also the zinc chromite. That was my philosophy about it, and don't blame me, blame the book I got it out. So once that was done, I went on to using a 2500 grit display sander, which is really to sort of like take down all the very top part of the paint, and it does leave you with a extra smooth finish, ideally for the paint going on, and also when the decals are actually coming on, there won't be any sort of like miss paint, as in the dry paint sticking up through into the decal. So it is silky smooth, and I highly recommend you do this. You do get a really nice finish. So the scratch effects was the one that was to go on, and again obviously it's clear, you can't see how much I'm putting on, but just putting it on sparingly, and you can build it up. But remember, the more you put on, the more paint you will come off, so just sort of like, you know, be a bit careful with it. So the next thing was to paint the walkways. Now you do get these in decal form, and to be honest I should have used the decals for this, because basically what I did is my own fault. I put the black on and didn't leave it to dry, so when I took the masking tape off, it did actually take part of it off, so I had to do it again. But anyway, move on. Next thing was the intermediate blue, and all I used for this was Tamiya's medium blue and XF2 just to lighten it up. Now once it was done, I went back into the XF2, put a few more drops into it to basically just to lighten it up in individual panel lines. Now again, what I've done is I've thinned this heavily, so it's a lot easier for me to actually do it freehand. Now once you're looking at the actual decal placements themselves, you do look at the paint scheme, and it does look a bit rough. It is not masked in any way, so don't be too sort of like hard on yourself when it comes down to doing this particular livery, because at some point they are actually maintained either on the ship, in the field, without the use of, well, much equipment, or the equipment that they would have in the factory. So again, just lighten up the panels, just breaking it up so you haven't got a solid base of blue. So for the main upper part, it is using MIG Ammo's Sea Blue and their Satin White. Now again, when you're doing this, yeah, this isn't going to be the final livery, put it this way, because of the decals. I did do these and they completely buggered it up again. So this particular kit has had, or will have, 3 separate paint jobs. Yes, how can you do this, Lenny? You're supposed to be a professional. Yeah, no, I'm not, and this proves it. But anyway, one thing I will say about MIG paints is they can be a bit troublesome, as in they do dry very quickly on the tip of your needle on your airbrush. Now grin and bear it, and just go through if this is the paint you are going to use. But with this, once it was done on the base colour of the actual sea blue, again I went through like I did with the medium blue and just went over tiny, well, about 5 spots of white, and just going over the panel lines just to lighten them up. Now, how much you dilute your actual dark sea blue or your sea blue is entirely up to yourself. Don't have people judge you or tell you that you've done it too much or too little. It is your own work. It is your own interpretation. So my advice is to do what you want. Have a look at some period pictures. Try and get colour ones if you can, so you can see the different variations and different tones and shades and all that kind of stuff of the actual main part. Although they are difficult to see on black and white pictures, but when you see on the colour ones, you will see the difference. But again, it's your own interpretation and you do what you want. So, saying that, that was it. Mainly, it was just a case of just going around and sort of like thinking, yeah, I could do a little bit here, a little bit there, and yeah, it's entirely up to yourselves. So anyway, I shall leave you with the last bits and pieces of this painting, and I will see you on the next video. So until then, watch the last couple of seconds, and I'll see you then. Ta-da!